Hi there, everybody, and welcome to Season 3, Episode 2 of The Hard Truth Inside the Football Industry podcast with me, Philip Ideson, and Darragh MacAnthony, Chairman and Co-owner of Peterborough United. Well, it seems like it was only a couple of days that we caught up with each other down at the Posh. I think you had a slightly better weekend of it than I did, although both had an interesting weekend.
Well, first of all, I feel like it's episode 1 because last week's episode was like a preview, but and hopefully you're enjoying being over and being in the heat of the battle, in game 1. Like I've always said to you, Philip, game 1 doesn't matter.
Yeah.
I was laughing because for some reason I ended up with Lofty from Coronation Street. The actor, is it something what? He's obviously a Cheltenham fan, so he was having lunch with us, and when I went out for a cigarette, he was out there with me. And he was a great guy. But at half time, he was, saying, that player's never played like that before. Now these boys are really stepping up. And I said, welcome back to League One. This is League One. This is what it's all about. Cheltenham will be a graveyard for some big teams this season. Their pitch was phenomenal. It looked like Wembley Stadium. They've got some good players. They work hard for each other. A good manager. People think, it's Cheltenham. We're just going to roll into town. They're in for a shock. And I think maybe some of our players, and again, Alan Swan, if you're listening, don't be putting out headlines that I'm slaughtering our players. I'm not. Maybe some went into the game or woke up on the day of the game or went out and played and thought, well, and sometimes you need that. Sometimes you need a stinker. Sometimes you need a stinker to make you realise, hang on, we ain't getting back to the championship with a half-arsed approach or putting in half of the work. And to be fair, we've got a manager who he's not going to settle for that. And I said to Barry at half-time, I'd guess 3 to 5 is the number subs wise. Could be all 5, could be 3. It was a bit of a, it was poor. And to be fair, Cheltenham probably should have been more up. Our young goalie made some great saves. Clarke-Harris obviously missed right in the stroke at half time. Probably glad he did, because if he'd scored and it was 2-1, the manager mightn't have made all those changes. So probably did us a favour. And then, to be fair, if Cheltenham are honest, we changed formation, we put on a few players, we stepped up a gear, and bar a couple of saves, it was pretty comfortable, dare I say. But when you got Marriott and Clarke-Harris, 2 Golden Boot winners in League One, they're prime of their career. The big killer for us was we played Hull last week and we destroyed them, and a lot of that was our right side. That was Thompson and Poku, and both players ended up becoming unavailable, and it disjointed the team a bit. And Ricky J. Jones, who's usually playing on the left, suddenly playing on the right for the first time. Josh Knight's playing at right back because Joe Ward was kind of 50-50. Benji had come back from an injury, so he hadn't had enough minutes. Tomlinson's actually a left back. And the manager obviously felt, well, I'll go with Josh Knight. And God bless Josh, he obviously tried, but he's not a right back. Sometimes you have to defend the player. He said it himself after the game.
He admitted it, didn't he?
He was pony, I think he put them in twice when he was under no pressure. And I love that about him, that he's actually gone, hey, I was pony. And that's where he's a class lad and a proper player. But, you're asking him to do a job that's not his job, kind of thing, in a position. So, and he did it, and he tried. But we were kind of rag-arse Rovers. And, we didn't have an answer for Cheltenham, and we just didn't look. There were a lot of players on their par, and there's a couple of them were carrying a couple of things and whatever else. Pretty normal, not quite at 100%, but they will be soon. And then the second half, this is the beauty of this season with so many subs. With our squad, we have a good squad. Before I'd always say we have a really good 11. Squad's a bit, whatever else, but we have a really, really good squad, Phil. And we have players who haven't even come back yet. We have a really good squad, and there's strength in the squad. And with so many subs, we can almost name half a new team, and with real impact. David Ajibowie, who spent like $250,000 on, he didn't even get in the pitch. So again, you're looking at it. Late on in the game, to be fair, I'm going to give the gaffer massive credit. Ben Thompson was an absolute revelation. Forget about Wardy. Wardy came on 50% fit, created 2 goals, got out wide, got the ball in the box, 3 goals. Do you know what I mean? You put that ball in the box with them 2 strikers, you're scoring goals. But for me, one of the big differences was Ben Thompson came in there next to Marriott because Jando, I don't know what was going on with Jando in the first half, but he was proper Ben Thompson. The manager really wanted him. Now I can see why. The boy was just all action. He'll probably be the first to admit he's not technically the best in the world. But forget that. It's the other stuff he does that's even more impressive than that. And he just ran his guts out in that midfield. Just suddenly from the first half, we were losing 70-30s in our favour. They were winning. It wasn't 50-50s. They were winning 30%, where they should only have 30% chance. They were winning every one of those kind of 50-50s, you'd call them. And then the second half, we were just winning the ball back. Jack Taylor was probably one of our best players in the first half, so they put someone next to him. And then late in the game, bringing on young Hector, when Sammie came off, and just having three in midfield to solidify things. Hector's like 6'3", he's big in the box, good for long throws and set pieces against us. And it was just having those tools to come on at the right time. So yeah, I'll be honest with you, I actually didn't expect us to win. Usually we are pony actually collectively first day. The last few years we're not quite at the races yet, and so that was kind of like a bonus win for me, considering how we've started. But I guess if you want to compete at the top this season, some of the teams in that league, you're going to have to start semi decent. If you look at the League One results, I think only 2 teams won away from home, and Cheltenham, like I said to you, a lot of teams are going to go there, and you just look at the results. Look at Accrington Stanley, Charlton. These teams, whilst they might not be fancy in name, they are good teams. They punch above their weight. Their places are really difficult. Cheltenham might analyse, like, their home form was phenomenal last year. So again, there will be some big teams going there and taking a bath. So we got out of there, and happy to win, happy to be able to watch football, which is now on ITV on a Saturday night instead of Quest. Gutted about that. I didn't. Did you ever watch Quest last year with Colin Murray?
I was able to get it a couple of times. Like, I had to go through the whole VPN and all that stuff.
I really enjoyed him.
Yeah.
Whatever else, but on the ITV thing or whatever. Yeah. So I hope maybe Colin Murray's part of that team, because he was a bit of banter, it was a bit of whatever. But we'll see. It's now gone from BBC to Quest to ITV. It's changed, gone around the house a little bit of time. But it was nice to watch that Saturday night. It was really funny, because obviously after the game, I'm looking at the halftime comments, and it's just like, they're ending the young goalie's career. Well, they're killing the young goalie's career at halftime. He's made his league debut. He's won us the game. He's going to be a terrific young goalkeeper, and they're just burying us. The usual hate Darragh merchants are just like, because Darragh's not arsed about signing a goalkeeper. Then you got somebody going, greatest show on turf, with sarcasm. I was just on, fucking leave it. You know what I mean? Just leave it alone. It's just like,
Now you know what's to come. Every time you fall behind for the rest of the season.
2 years ago when we won promotion, I just remember, I actually looked through my social media the other day, and we lost like 3 of the first 5 games. The stuff that was written on there about the Vengeance Tour and about this and about that. Fuck, people need to get a life. People need to relax. People need to chill. One thing I've learned since COVID is you can't take yourself too seriously. Like, people go, you can't say the greatest show on turf, you're setting yourself up for failure. If people think I meant that, like, as a per se, we're going to like steamroller. Fuck's sake, you got to be able to like have a bit of a laugh at yourself sometimes. And in a perfect world, would I like to own the most supreme football team on the planet? Of course, it's fantasy land, but come on.
We've all been around football long enough to know that.
Come on. So people just need to come at that, calm the fuck down. But anyway, look, it's a win. You get out of there. I think the manager was happy. I spoke to him today. Everyone was out training today. Players are back. Poku, we were really concerned about that one. We've had good news. He's only going to be a couple of weeks, if that. We thought that could have been a bad one. At first, I think we thought it was an Achilles, and then I was shitting. Yeah, I was shitting myself on Thursday. And then on Friday, I was at the shops for some reason getting on milk. And I'll text his man, good news on Poku. He's like, no. And I'm like, I'm smashing my car in the car park at Sainsbury's. So he's just like, give us a break after the year we've had. You know what I mean? So, yeah, some good news there. And, look, it's, and a lot of players were under par. People were hammering a few to. No, and by the way, overall, the majority, bear this in mind, 95% of Posh fans know what we're all about. Enjoyed Saturday. The 1,100 fans were there. Superb. Great atmosphere. It felt like they'd taken over the stadium. The noise. Sometimes I'm touching wood when I hear things like, 2-0 up, you fucked it up. And I'm like, don't say that till the full-time whistle. But they enjoyed it. And it was, I think it was good to see. What really got us promoted 2 years ago, we were number 1 in the country for coming from behind. I think we did it. I think we won the most points from coming from behind. And if we're going to have a real chance of competing to win the league, to win promotion, we have to repeat that. And to go 2-0 down there, I'll make a bet with you. No other team will go 2-0 down at that place and come back and win this season.
We'll have to keep a watch
podcast
on
fans, If that happens, you can throw that at me, all right, on Twitter. The DMAC out haters, you can throw that at me on Twitter. Apparently, most of them were on holiday last week, and I did the forum. It was a big coincidence. So many of them were on holiday, but they were on holiday. Fair play.
It's easier to speak on social than it is in the room.
You know, I had a lovely message off Jean on Facebook on Sunday, and she was like, "Oh, the negativity and how," and I said to her, "Stop letting people bother you." She gets so defensive of me, and she was like, "Yeah, but BBC, you know, Franny Green and the other guy, you know, they were like." I've said I can only imagine what it'd be. I don't know what the BBC's problem with me is, you know, over the last, maybe because I don't have gender pronouns, you know, in my bio on Twitter, because I know the BBC are all into that nowadays more than ever. They're like, woke. Maybe that's why they've turned a little bit. Who fucking knows? But they were winding her up during the game. Almost, they were delighted we were like losing. Do you know what I mean? So I think she was very happy when we mounted the comeback. But anyway, enough about posh.
I'll tell you what, that Jonson Clarke-Harris goal, was it his first or his second? And you'll go a long way to see something hit that sweetly.
I was worried about the people behind the goal, because I can only imagine if I was behind that goal, when he's hit that, you're forgetting the net's there. Mm-hmm. And then you're thinking, fuck me, if that hits somebody in the stand, you're getting knocked out for a week. Because when I saw the rocket on it, I mean, he's got the hardest shot in football. That left foot of his is a gift. And fair play to Jono. I saw him with the players at half time on the pitch. They went out 6 minutes early. I think they were kicked out, and he was laying into all the players in a good way in a group about what, and that's what a captain does. And then what a captain does is a captain leads from example. And Jack Marriott started the ball rolling, and Jono basically finished. But look, he's the best striker for me. He's one of the best outside the Premier League. You know, people go on about, I think with Ipswich fans a few weeks ago, about his value and everything else. You find me another similar player, target man to him, that gives you that amount of goals and what he does for the team, yeah, and I'll be amazed. There ain't many out there. You know, you couldn't name one in League Two, and I couldn't name one bar him in League One to that standard. Truth be known.
Well, that net nearly was uprooted out of the pitch, wasn't it?
Oh my God! But anyway, but fair play to Cheltenham. Really looked after us. Loved the people there. You know, very gracious, and their facilities, the pitch, their fans even coming out of a game, really, really good place. And we forgot to say, massive congratulations to the Lionesses.
Yes,
I watched it last night, really enjoyed it. Phenomenal atmosphere. I know my girl's back in the States, and my missus isn't big into women's soccer, but she watched it, really enjoyed it, and yeah, fair play. Let's hope that's a big game changer for women's football.
Yeah, the start, as they said last night, you know, the start of the journey.
Oh, brilliant. Yeah, they were clinical, and you know, I enjoyed the celebrations. I enjoyed everything about it, and yeah, long may that continue, because that's brilliant for the girls' game.
Yeah, we had all the kids were watching, and you know, it gets them into football even more. Just seeing success. You know, it doesn't matter whether it's men or women getting success.
No,
you know, it's success for England.
Hey, and to turn the Hermans over anytime. You don't care if it's your kids, your girls, your boys, you know, at the end of the day. Am I allowed to say Hermans, by the way? I can't nowadays, the whole PC thing, I'll be careful. BBC will be after me again. If you're
not back next week, we got shut down.
There you go. So, yeah, but no, all good. Congrats to them. You know, let's hope that's a real kind of like, that sets off a trail now of some good things that happen for ladies football. You know, I know they got 50 grand each, a lot of them, and it's nothing compared to the men. But I think what they'll get now in endorsements and all the things that will come their way, and that's not really why they're in the game, but now they're going to get that recognition. I've always said the more money that comes in, you want to get parity and everything else, get the TV cameras on you. There's number one. You know, they had 90,000 people at Wembley. It's number two. The good news there is that those kind of numbers will lead to better TV deals, which means it leads to more money. So all good. Yeah. Now, let's talk Bradford.
Yeah, what an interesting game we had. So, you know, all set up, start of the season. Everyone's very excited. We're getting 19,500 in there, which was incredible. The atmosphere, the atmosphere was something special. You know, the flags going over the Kop, and we had kind of the Claret and Amber cards that were on there. Everything looked great. You know, everyone's get set up. 6 minutes in, a new player gets a double leg break.
I saw it. Like, God bless the kid. I saw it. It was like, I never watched the actual thing because I just can't. I'm too squeamish
either, because I can't watch it.
But what have you spoke to anyone? What's the prognosis as regards to?
I don't know timing yet. He had his op on Sunday, so yesterday as we're recording this, double leg break. So you've got to imagine that it's the season.
And it was just innocuous. It was just like
I mean,
oh,
it was a
oh,
kid, from the Doncaster side, went in too hard, followed through. He was probably a bit over enthusiastic as well. 19-year-old in what his fifth or sixth professional game, and
mm,
everyone's just been G'd up by the, start of the game and somebody in there in the atmosphere. He probably just went to his head a little bit, and he
oh,
got booked. Should probably been sent off just for dangerous foul
wow.
play.
If that's
Um,
VAR, does he go?
I imagine so. It's not, like I say, I haven't watched the challenge back because I don't want to watch the kid get his leg broken, again. But it was pretty nasty.
Well, let's
Um,
send him our best wishes and let's hope he
yeah,
recovers from it. I mean, I read, obviously, I saw the I say highlights.
yeah.
The only highlight was the kind of the instant of the injury and then Lee Tomlin
Mhm.
acting like a fool. I don't know, for one of my children to act like that, I tell you what, I'm going to smack him when I see him. So I don't know what goes through his head. I love Tomo, but unfortunately, he has history for this. In the first spell with us, when he wanted me to sell him, he got sent off 4 or 5 times in 15 games. In the second spell, where he was trying to get his fitness back, he got sent off doing something stupid next to a ref again. Do you know what I mean? By
Mhm.
like tipping someone on the ankle, and they went down. And then this time I saw, love him to bits. If you met him, you'd really like him. And I don't know if he showed any glimpses of talent, but what on earth are you doing? I don't know what was going through his head.
Yeah, it was really just petulant, and I mean, unfortunately, he, it's pot kettle and black saying this, saying he looked out of shape, but for a professional footballer, he looks like he's got some work to do, and maybe that's, you know, that's on his mind too. I don't know, but it was ridiculous. I mean, he was getting wound up a little bit by the
Mm.
fans. We were sat basically next to the away dugout, and they were giving him verbals around there with some City fans. He threw the ball back into the crowd right next to me, just about 2 minutes before that happened. And so
I,
it was
uh,
just,
I, well, if he's not in the condition he should be, he needs to work on that. And I know all the fans were like, you're saying this guy in the podcast last week be the best player in League Two. I think I said at the time, an in
he needs
condition,
to be
fully
fit.
fit Lee Tomlin,
Yeah.
and he needs to get his head straight. So I'm sure he's already apologised to the Donny fans. Like I said, he's not malicious, he's not evil. He just does daft things at times. He's at the age now where he shouldn't do things like that. So shit. The other thing I read was you had 22 shots and only 2 on target.
Hmm. I mean, they saying they parked the bus is an understatement. They
Hang on, hang on. There's 22 shots. So regardless of parking the bus, you got 22 shots off
yeah,
on
but they
goal.
were all from distance.
Well, how is the Notts County boy?
Um, Notts County boy. Which one
The
are you
one I
thinking?
told you. Did you sign him? The one I told
No,
you.
Stockport
Oh,
signed him.
of course,
We
yeah.
got
So who played up front?
yeah, we got Vadine Oliver and
Yeah,
Leanne Gall.
yeah.
So
Forget Leanne Goal. How did Oliver do?
yeah, I mean everything as you would expect. Everything that hit him stayed with him.
Okay.
Um, but there just wasn't that much fluidity up front. And that's probably them all just getting to know each other. I would
Okay.
imagine. Like I didn't come away from it concerned or anything.
Oh, I was going to ask that next question. Was there anything on Saturday? I'm telling Posh fans, calm down. What you see in
Yeah,
game one. Was there anything game one that concerned you?
no. I mean, the center, the defensive line, no problems at all. Midfield, not really any problems. We struggled to break them down. They came for a point. They got a man sent off. They packed the bus. They did all the dark arts. They were falling on the ground every 2 minutes, and there's just a lot of frustration and anger going around the stadium after the after the injury. I've not been in such a toxic environment for a long time for the fans, probably because we sat right by the dugout, but there was a lot of, their assistant coach giving it back to the fans and the fans giving it back to them. And, I mean, it got pretty tasty. So,
Oof.
and
Was that Derby?
I mean, yeah, it's Yorkshire, but we don't really think of them as a rival particularly. Um, there was just, they celebrated like they'd won the FA Cup. But on the other, I mean, Mark Hughes said at the end, I would have liked to have thought if the roles were reversed, we'd have at least tried to play some football, as opposed to just completely shutting up. But I mean, if I'm a Doncaster fan,
Yeah,
like,
I don't agree with Mark Hughes there. I
yeah,
think
if you're,
if you're
you
going to
got to
end
take
10
what you
against
can get.
Bradford in front of 19,000 Bradford fans, I think if you're rolling out of there, when did the sending off happen? What minute?
It was the 8th minute of first half injury time.
Right, so if you're playing a whole half against a fancy Bradford team,
Yeah.
at their place, and you get a draw, and you do what
It's a
you got
great
to do to
result
get
for
the
them, I
point.
think.
Yeah, I under Hughes is probably angry,
Yeah.
So it's on him to find a plan B to score.
Mm-hmm.
So, and he didn't answer that question, did he?
No, we don't have a lot of width right now, and
Right.
Osadebi, which is one of the ones that who
Keep
got
telling you about
injured.
Kanu. Keep
I
telling you
know.
about Kanu. Someone else now at the top of League Two is about to get him, possibly. Keep telling you.
Yeah, we need width.
Yeah.
Aboasa's injured again, who was injured all last season. You got Osadebi's injured. We haven't filled the open loan spot that we hoped we'd have out wide. So if there's any more business that needs to be done, it needs to be a couple of wide players, I think.
Gotcha.
But I'm not concerned. There's a lot of class in that team. So
how did Smallwood play?
He was fine. I mean, he kind of ran the show in the middle. He looks so easy. He's just one of those players where gets the ball, rolls it around. He never looks like he's in any trouble. And the same with we have a young lad from Huddersfield called Critchlow at centre half, and he looks like he's on a different level than most players in that league. Again, very easy. He reminds me. We had Dean Richards, who played for us as a kid before he went on to Wolves, and he reminds me of a young Dean Richards. Just really good on the ball, runs it out.
I've got my scouts keeping an eye on him in case I have to buy a centre half. You know what I mean? So
just make sure it's the end of the season, not in January.
Joking. No, very good. So it was a good weekend of football. To be fair, it was enjoyable.
It was nice. It's I was really frustrated just because it was this is the one City game I would get to go to, and I was hoping that we'd see a win from it. But
where's Bradford on Saturday?
We're away at Barrow.
Ooh, okay.
So 400 people will be at that one from City. I think it's 400 or 600 or something. But Barrow got a shot. I mean, it's as the crow flies, it's not that far, but it's a good 2-3 hour drive around Cumbria, I think.
Didn't they have a great result at the weekend?
Yeah, they won away at Stockport.
Yeah, 3-0 up, and it was 3-2 in the end, wasn't it? Yeah, I saw that. But in fairness to the Barrow manager, he was the Halifax manager, wasn't he?
Yeah, Pete Wild.
And he's obviously very, very good. I think he started at Oldham, and then he was bombed out of there.
Yeah.
But we used to watch Halifax a lot.
Yeah.
Because he had some good young players there. Yeah. And he's getting the tune out of players on a budget that's not. If he continues with his trajectory, he won't be around long in League Two.
Yeah, I mean, we looked at him when we brought Mark Hughes in, because a local manager to us, and he did wonders at Halifax. I actually feel bad while Halifax might hate us, like a rivalry. I really wanted Halifax to get back to the Football League, and he lost all his play. Like when he left, a lot of his players from last year left as well. And it might be a little harder for them now, but he was working wonders at Halifax.
No, no doubt about it. So that's not easy. Tell everyone where you are on Saturday, Phil. Where are you going this Saturday?
I'll be off to give some stick to our former manager, Derek Adams, at Peterborough.
My guest in the director's box.
Yeah.
So, absolutely. So that'll be your first posh game. We've done the podcast, that's for sure. That'll be fun.
I can't wait, and all the family are coming along as well. So I'll have to remind them at the beginning that they're not to convert themselves to posh fans, Bradford fans. Although seeing a win might change their mind.
Hey, the greatest show on turf attracts all comers. All right, that's just the way it goes. But listen, if we play like we played on Saturday in the first half, Morecambe are winning. So and again, like people go, "Who are you playing?" Morecambe, Sheffield Wednesday. These teams. It's just like this is League One. It's like, big names don't mean anything in League One, as we saw with some of the results on Saturday. Yeah,
I mean, if we kind of finishing off on League Two, we talked a little bit about Barrow beating Stockport. Let's see, Stevenage winning away at Tranmere.
Steve Evans, I told you.
Yeah.
Don't be shocked if Evans mounts another promotion. Honest to God, he's the promotion king. Mm-hmm. Do not be... I would have bet my life on him winning that game on Saturday. I said to Baz on Thursday, Evans will go to Tranmere and get a result. Honest to God, he will shake. I'm telling you, I really feel they could be the surprise package.
And then Harrogate beat Swindon 3-0 at home, which was
Swindon have got some work to do.
Yeah,
they've lost some good players. They've got work to do.
Yeah, they lost a lot with the manager when he went to Charlton, didn't they?
Yes, they had some good players last year. So good new owner though. So I just think it's going to take them a while to rebuild from the Lee Power era. But yeah, so I mean that was a very good result. To be fair, you're just talking about there.
Any standout results for you in League One then?
No, I mean if you look at some of them, let me think. Obviously Wednesday in Portsmouth had a real home. I think Cambridge probably had the standout results because everyone, even though MK Dons have lost all their best talents, but they brought in a lot of players, so you would probably expect them to bed them in and take time. But Cambridge obviously took advantage early on and had a hell of a goal by Nibs, who scored a great goal in the game. So what else in there? Was there anything that shocked you in that league?
I think good result for Bolton away at Ipswich.
Yep, definitely.
With a 1-1 draw. Nothing else. I actually was going to ask you about Cambridge. I have a Cambridge United supporter who I know very well, who was lamenting the fact that we hadn't mentioned them in our pre-season preview. So any expectations on Cambridge this year? Is it going to be a difficult second season?
No. I think they're pretty well run. I think they've got a very good manager. I know he joked last year that he'd never want to manage Posh and everything else, but it wouldn't stop me from, obviously saying he's obviously very good at his job. Yeah. They've had a very good 3-4 year period now that you either build on or it goes the other way, and I think they're building on that. So no, I don't expect any. Would it shock me if Cambridge are up there? Not at all. Do I think they'll struggle in League One? No. People talk about second season syndrome, but that really, for me, is the Premier League and sometimes the Champ, not necessarily League One.
Do you think, though, that, there's teams, and I'm thinking Sutton as an example, where you come up, you do well, you have a squad that's embedded, that's played together for a long time, and maybe even Forest Green, and then when you do well, that squad gets picked apart, and you're not necessarily of the... Right. So it's hard to recruit to replace those players.
That's a great point. Obviously, Sutton have lost a few very good players, including one we took. So, you worry if, it depends on how they recruit and replace. Forest Green, fair play to them. They had a brilliant result. They beat Bristol Rovers. That was probably the standout result in League One. Yeah. And they've lost the heartbeat of their team with their fullbacks who created all their goals. They got Matty Stevens, who was their Golden Boot winner last year, who's done his ACL. They lost Ebu Adams in midfield, who was kind of, again, the engine room. So for them to go there at Bristol Rovers, that surprised me, that result. And I need a quick shout out. There's a Bristol Rovers player, I believe he was diagnosed with a form of cancer.
Yes.
So God bless him and pray for his recovery. And we send him all our best. We when you see things like that, you puts football in the shade. So, But yeah, so that Forest Green is probably, before the Forest Green fans come at me, or the owner, whatever else, we have to give them credit for that result.
Now, into the Championship, did you watch the Huddersfield Burnley game?
I did, and I don't know if I'm, what is it with commentators and everyone else to get carried away? Like last year it was like the Wayne Rooney show, it's carried away. Sky are at it today with his remarkable win in the MLS. Do you know what I mean? His MLS team won the game 1-0 and it's like a remarkable win. Is it just me or was there people overreacting about, the company, Man City kind of axes? I mean, Burnley were good. Yes, they pressed really well, but it was almost like he'd recreated the wheel in pressing. I don't know if they've ever watched football outside the Champ, but more and more football teams now are pressing. My manager is a big, believer in pressing teams. And, when you got a player like Cullen who they spent $3 million on, and you go, I was amazed Twine didn't actually play, but let's not forget that it's still a Premier League club. Yes, they're selling players for 20 million at a pop. And I think they're after now the Coventry player O'Hara. I read in the I don't know if Coventry will do that business or not, but it was a good win for Burnley. But I think the commentators get carried away. It was almost like Vinny Kompany had rewritten the script on how to play football in the Championship.
I think that we'll have that with us and Mark Hughes if he does well. That everyone's kind of looking for a story.
I already saw all the Mark Hughes stories on Thursday and Friday.
Yeah,
the Sun were doing it. It's that big name, isn't it? It's like all of a sudden you're getting articles left, right, and centre.
People follow the person, and that, I mean, for us that's good because that hopefully leads to more Sky games because suddenly there's a bigger interest story, which leads to more Sky money.
Yeah, because Bradford with 20,000 fans on the Saturday buying tickets need Sky money. Like, because Derby, with 40,000 fans on a Saturday, and I don't mean to have a dig at Bradford there,
Yeah.
but like that pisses me off. Like
Mhm.
when I see like Salford used to get all the TV games, and
Right.
Derby would get this, and then obviously Bradford suddenly start being on TV because of Mark Hughes. Like, with all due respect, when you've got clubs in League Two with 2,000 fans and who don't have 70, they're the ones who kind of
They
deserve
need the
TV
money.
money.
Well,
Yeah, they need it, but they
although
don't get it.
they may have owners who are funding the clubs as opposed to being self-funded.
Maybe, and in your defence, you're self-funded. But I honestly think, give me 20,000 paying fans every Saturday. I mean, I'd happily turn down TV money.
Mm-hmm.
Well, it's just that, and with Derby, I think they had, was it 33,000 or something at their
Yeah,
game on
I mean, some
Saturday.
of the crowds are incredible, aren't they?
I mean, I'm just like, wow. No wonder you can pay that in wages, this in wages, or whatever else. But look, that's the beauty about our pyramid. That's just the way it is. You can have a monster like Bradford in League Two. You can have a monster like Derby, Sheffield Wednesday, Ipswich in League One. You can have a Leeds 5 years ago in League One. That is, anyone in the MLS wants to know why your product isn't as exciting as it should be. Just fucking take a look at our pyramid. It's the greatest pyramid in world football.
What do you make, so talking of that, like about financial parity within a league? Because we've seen Andy Holt talk a lot about iFollow and the distribution of cash from iFollow, where traditional TV deals, it's more evenly distributed, at least within division, not necessarily between division. Whereas when you start looking at iFollow and iFollow receipts, the money right now, the way it's structured, is going to the club that sells the most tickets, which is going to be
right. Yeah, I mean, look, Andy's got his own opinions. We haven't always got on, and it got a bit testy there, during and after COVID, and you followed me on Twitter and all that stuff. But which is fine. He's entitled to get the hump from me. I can't disagree with him. I understand where he's coming from. A club his size, to have a big club come and people stay at home so they can watch iFollow and all that revenue goes to them is his argument, I believe. And I've always been a fan of the American NFL system where all the money's pooled. Like, you've got 32 teams or 40 teams, and all the money is pooled and then shared equally under one big shell business. Do you know what I mean? So, for me, how should iFollow happen? Maybe all the money should be, but then you're going to have the big clubs complaining. So it's one of them. We went down our own route, came out of iFollow, the license money back. And we do our own thing, and it's still, Posh Plus is still taking off. It's not quite we're working on it. We've got meetings next week working on it a little bit. My partner Randy's involved in it. There's a lot of things we want to do with Posh Plus, to get our subscriptions. I've always spoke about the whole Netflix thing. If you can get your subscription up, if you can get that growing, I do. I feel for an Andy Holt. I understand his argument. I know why he's digging his heels in. But hey, you're allowed to come out of it. And that's what we've done, as regards to iFollow and going down our own route. But big clubs can still sell their own match ticket for our games, I believe. So it doesn't really solve that problem.
Mm-hmm. Now, does it disincentivize medium-sized clubs in taking risks to build a fan base that then become a big fan base? And of course, I'm thinking of us, of Bradford, where, we haven't always had 15,000, 20,000 tickets in League Two. Back 20 years ago, I've been to 3,000, 4,000 crowds, back in the old fourth division, but
Sure.
we took risks. We invested in cheap season tickets, which grew a fan base, which, is expensive in itself to grow to the position where we're now hopefully reaping some of the rewards of that investment. Does parity disincentivize clubs from doing it because they're just going to get the same amount of money anyway from a central pot rather than having to grow their own fan base?
Yeah, I don't know. I guess that goes against my argument. I'm talking about centralized pot and TV money, not in gate money. Like I believe in the NFL, all the gate money is not split equally. They keep their gate money. I'm talking about TV. I'm talking about the rights around the world. I'm talking about when we finally do an EFL Plus.
Yeah.
Where you get your gate money, you keep whatever. But because it's a product that's universal amongst us, is like Sutton make a part of the EFL like Leeds and Derby would if Leeds were in the EFL. So you can't say, well, they're worth less than you are, because it's all part of the pyramid. So what I'm talking about there is that if we went out and did an EFL Plus, all the money generated by that, which replaces the Sky money, solidarity, that is equally split amongst everyone. How many fans come in on a match day is still your revenue, unless it's in a cup where you go 45%. Do you know what I mean? So, I look at the moment. Rick Parry, I think he's good for the EFL. He's not silly. I'm sure these things are being worked on to find solutions for problems like an Andy Holtz that he has at Accrington, and like problems we had. They're trying their best. They're trying to put their best foot forward and everything else. So that's where I stand on that one.
I took us off the championship a little bit there, but anything else from your mind from the championship that stood out for you this weekend?
Blackburn had a good win.
Mm-hmm.
Who else did well? There's
Cardiff got a good 1-0 against Norwich.
Yeah, that was a good Norwich. You're kind of like, it's if Dean Smith has a bad start there, you'd be like, oof, But they've got too many good players not to be up there. Were there any shock results? There was a few draws. It's early days. Ask me after 4 or 5 results.
Yeah.
That's when things start taking shape. I guess the first couple of games are all about seeing what people need left with time left in the window. And that's where it goes from there. And you got some new managers. Blackpool had a great result. They won 1-0. So it'll be interesting.
Hull got a 2-1 against Bristol City, and they've been pretty active so far, haven't they?
Yeah, I mean, they were rubbish when we played them, but that's a pre-season friendly, so and that was only a week ago, so fair play. A lot of Turkish players have gone in there. He could go one way or the other. So they're probably delighted to get that win. And let's see. That's one to keep an eye on, because they've got some players and big money have come in there now. Let's see how they adapt to the championship, because we know what that league's like. So it's unforgettable. Stoke obviously got a good scene to off Millwall. Millwall will definitely be a dark horse. I watched the Sunderland game yesterday. It was a really good game with Coventry. Coventry came on strong, typical championship team. Dug in. Then the last 15 minutes kind of overpowered and got the equaliser, and then probably could have won the game. So that'll be interesting as well. It's one of them leagues, isn't it? You can never call it.
I see the Rotherham 1, Swansea 1. I started listening this week to the podcast that was following on the BBC, Paul Warren last year and Carl Robinson, as they were doing their kind of gearing up for promotion. And it shouldn't be one to promote another podcast on this podcast, but it's really insightful. They were all mic'd up through the last 2 or 3 months of the season to hear their kind of journey and the ups and the downs, but also a lot of the mental side of the game from managers' perspective that you don't see. So it's kind of fascinating. So far, I've listened to the first 3 or 4 so far. What's really interesting is Carl Robinson talking a lot about mental health. And
he's big in that, him and his wife. Yeah. You know what I mean? So, yeah, absolutely. Carry on.
No, and how he'd brought in like a sports psychologist. I think he said they were the only club to employ one full time. And to me, it was interesting hearing like vulnerability of a manager, because you look at these managers again on a pedestal, you don't see what goes on behind the scenes and all the vulnerabilities that they do and that they have, and for them to be sharing them openly, I think was just really, insightful. And hopefully, people see people like Carl, people like Paul Warren, people like the other managers as humans, as opposed to as just like, objects to, throw abuse at, and, all the things that we do on social media and on the terrace.
It's the store we live in, Phil. It's like, if you're not thick-skinned, you can struggle, and I can see why people struggle, because it comes in such a barrage at once. It's not like the old days where someone would call your name, fine, but now you got thousands of people at it. And I think it was Paddy the Baddy in the UFC had said 2 weeks ago his friend had committed suicide, and it's like, men don't talk about their feelings, and absolutely correct. We've always said that. We spoke about it in the business podcast, but about there's nothing wrong with being honest. There's nothing wrong with telling people you're down. You've heard me on the podcast, kicked in the bollocks. I'm feeling a bit lower than a snake's belly. It's okay to talk about it. You're not Mr. Invincible, I said it at the forum last week. I always try and be as honest as I can with people when they ask me a question. There are bigger things going on in your life than football. As hard as that is to imagine.
Yeah. So you watch the Community Shield, I guess, as it's now called. You'd be happy with that as a Liverpool fan.
Yeah, listen, good game. Happy Klopp added another trophy to his collection. Listen, Man City aren't a superb team till the second half of the season. Pep Guardiola has them; he gets them peaking. So at the end of the day, any time to beat your rivals, Wembley or not Wembley, it was at Leicester. I really like the look of Darwin Núñez. He's going to be the real deal. I know he was getting a bit of crap off United fans a few weeks ago, but Klopp will drive me mad because he'd probably pick Bobby Firmino over him in the league. But for me, I think he can score 20 league goals this season. I think he's the next sensational one. Salah looks like he's refreshed because he was burnt out in the second half of last season. I still worry about in midfield. The goalkeeper, if you were to have Adrian in goal for the season, I'd be pulling my hair out. But yeah, very good. Very optimistic.
No, like you say, first trophy in the cabinet, and it doesn't really mean anything except for
But it does. It's a trophy. It's a competitive game. It's the stats go down on your record. Guardiola's always said this. He always counted, the Community Shield. At the end of the day, you have to be one of the two best teams in England last season to be in it. Mm-hmm. So it does mean something. They took it out by calling it friendly and a charity, whatever. At the end of the day, it's a trophy. And I think, look, silverware.
But do you think it means anything in terms of what to expect of Liverpool versus Manchester City this year?
I think Liverpool win the title and Man City win the Champions League. I think Guardiola won't be done with City until he's won the Champions League. And I honestly think we win the league. They win the Champions League. I do. I think that's how it's going to pan out.
And so before we go, one of the things that I didn't talk about, I had it on my notes earlier, and then we moved on to other things, was Sammie Szmodics. So he played at the weekend, but there's been a lot of rumours around a transfer. So any updates you can give us on that?
So by the time this goes out, he'll probably have signed and done his medical. Right now, he's doing his medical with Blackburn. Hopefully, all goes to plan for him. As everyone knew, Blackburn had made 3 bids during the summer. The player reached out to me about 7 days ago to say that it was life-changing. He wanted to move. I told him at the time, get your head down. We're nowhere near a deal. I've got to do what's best for the club. At the end of the day, we knew this could always be on the horizon. Blackburn came back on Thursday, engaged, and a few things were sorted out, and I agreed in the end, but I made it clear to Blackburn, he is in the manager's team on Saturday, and I'm not disrupting the manager on a Friday morning when he's already picked his team. So I told the manager, Sammie Szmodics is in your 11. That's up to you. If you're picking him, he plays. And then after the game, we'll talk about what happens next. And obviously after the game he was done, I gave permission late on Saturday night, about 8:30 Saturday night, for Blackburn to do the medical with him over the weekend. And we wish him all the best. He's brilliant for us. 2 great seasons. Great lad. Him and his family, superb. I hope he goes and smashes it there. It's good business for the club. We spoke about reducing debt. We spoke about doing what's right for the club. You can't keep bringing players in. We have a massive squad. The manager knows, does he need to be replaced? We've got 4 weeks left. Maybe yes, maybe no. That's up to the gaff. We spoke about it just an hour ago. He wants to take his time. I've complete trust in him. We're all aligned on the type of players he likes. When I say that, they're aligned with how Peterborough like players, but there's a couple of different things in there. You know what I mean? They're a little bit different from before. It's got to work a little bit harder and all those things. So, I think now we just play it cool. No rush on that. But again, that's what our club's about, is providing a platform. Look, Sammie nearly went to Oxford on loan in January. I turned that deal down. And because I didn't feel there was any value in a player of that value going to League One at the time. And it was a risk for the club that if it didn't come off and he suddenly ended up on Oxford's bench,
right,
then you got a player with no value.
Now he's a League One substitute.
And then it was the right decision because Grant came in and he was his best player for the last 6-7 games, and it's led to the move. So I'm glad I made that decision in January.
Right, because he was at least rumoured as an outsider, just reading the press, to be pretty unhappy with the way things were going back January, February time, before Grant came in.
Yeah, Sammie wanted to go to Oxford and loan. But that's Sammie. If Sammie's not playing, fair play to him. He wants to go and play. So I probably wasn't popular with him then because I said no. But as I reminded him by message the other day, I bet you're glad I didn't let you go in January because all roads have led to this. And that's what we do and that's what I do as a club. We make decisions, the right decisions for the right moments. There's no perfect science, but we get it right more than we get it wrong. And the answer will be, the question from our people will be, are you replacing him? There is availability to replace him if the manager wants to. If not, we wait till January. Right now, we've got a lot of talent throughout the squad. So that's down to Grant. If Grant says to me tomorrow, we're going to replace him, we'll replace him. If he says to me in 2 weeks' time, I'm okay, that's fine too. So we're supportive of the manager and his team. And we want to give them all the tools. But at the same time, what we can't do is we can't just replace someone for the sake of replacing them. Do you know what I mean? It's got to be instead of rushing into it, it's got to be do it in the right way. We've got a list of 4 players. You know, if that's the case and he wants one of those, then we start working through that list. Right now, we're not doing that. So I'll let the manager just, you know, take a breath, get on with what he's got. We've got some big games coming up over the next couple of weeks, but we've got time. Time is on our side for a change.
Now, we've talked about the need to close the deficit, you know,
Yes.
and whether that meant players going out before players coming in. As you kind of surveyed who you expected would go out to perhaps close that deficit, was Sammie one that was on your list, or did this come out as a bit of an opportunity, let's say, for both club and player?
Yes, potentially. When we sat down in May and had our recruitment meeting, he was on the outgoing list to go towards the whole, and also the fact because of his wages. Everyone knows, you know what I mean? So it was kind of like, and the manager was in full agreement with that. Now, obviously, the manager likes him a lot as a player. So while he might be in agreement, he's thinking, well, hopefully no one comes in for him. But at the end of the day, he's the type of manager who would never stand in a player's way. Blackburn are going to offer him money, you know. And again, that's sometimes, yes, it's part of the consideration, but it's not the be-all and end-all. At the end of the day, if Blackburn hadn't come to a level we're comfortable with and the deal wasn't right for us, we would have said, look, play till January and we'll see if we can get you another club. But it's got to be right for both parties, you know what I mean? So it's helped towards the deficit. There's a big hole in League One that we have to fill, and I've always said this, but we won't sell players for below our valuation. And, you know, that's me and Barry. This is the way we operate. And we did not want to upset our team. You know, we could have pulled him on Thursday night, Friday, and said he's not playing. We didn't do that. We gave the manager that freedom of, hey, he's your player. You pick him. I have not said he's going to Blackburn. You know, you've got a big game to plan for. I don't want anything distracting from that. Be the reason we lose to Cheltenham or whatever else. You know, and it gave the player a chance, I think, to say goodbye to the fans and stuff like that. And yeah, so that's where we are. That's football. That's the way it goes. Another one goes in the books. You know, we spent £1 million on Sammie. Not a lot of people would have done that for a player that, you know, wasn't getting in at Bristol. And obviously he's won us a promotion. He's done very well. And now we've made a return on him, which has now helped towards the hole we're in League One. So that is the essence of good business, Philip.
Now, this will be his 3rd spell in the Championship, you know, with Bristol City, with you last
I think
year.
it'll be his best one. I think it'll be his best one. I do. I think the environment will work for him. I think it'll be his best one. I think his best years are ahead of him. Someone said the other day about his age, well, he's 26, for goodness sake. He hasn't even his peak yet. And the type of player he is, I'm really hoping it's his best. And me and him have always had a great relationship, but it's had its moments. You know, when I first tried to get him back here after the loan, and he wanted to stay at Bristol, and then when suddenly Bristol didn't want him, and then obviously I met with his agent, his family, and him, and then to the point where he was messaging me every day, going, "Have you done the deal yet with Bristol?" And then to the point where he wanted to go to Oxford in January, and he wasn't talking to me because I wasn't letting the deal go ahead. And then to the point now where he was like, you know, I want to go to Blackburn, and I'm like, calm down, get on with your football. Let me take care of the rest. And that's always my promise to a player. Of course, I'll do my best for them and the club. So we wish him nothing but the best, love, and he will always be a posh legend because he's got a promotion on his CV. And he ran the hard yards. And him and his family had a hard time a year ago, and you know, or 2 years ago. And I'm delighted to see him and his wife, you know, his partner, just come back from that and do great and build a little family unit. So we wish him nothing but the best. He's a great kid.
All right. Well, with that said, we'll call it quits for this week. We'll be back next week with another podcast. Thanks again, everybody, for listening. And if you do have any questions, you can always reach out by Twitter. Just find the Twitter handle, DM us, or send us an email, contact@hardtruthfootball.com.
Take care, everyone.
Thanks, everybody.